Let's talk a little baseball, and let me get my producer Brandon Combs in the mix because he is a diehard baseball fan, and I want to get his opinion on this one. Here comes Major League Baseball today reached an agreement with Polymarket. Rob Manfred says that this is aimed at combating threats to the sport's integrity. Now, we've seen in the last couple of years here across all sports, not just Major League Baseball, the NBA. We really haven't seen it in the NFL, which I'm not surprised. They do a pretty damn good job. Anytime somebody even places a parlay on a different sport, if it's at the team's facility, bang, you're done for the year. You're suspended. You're suspended. The NFL, at least from what we've seen, they've done a pretty damn good job of cracking down on sports betting scandals, if you will. But the NBA was rocked earlier this year. Terry Rozier betting on his own stuff. Chauncey Billups in an illegal poker gambling ring along with his own team. Major League Baseball, we saw it with some of the game's best players. Emmanuel Clase, closer for the Guardians, probably never going to pitch again in Major League Baseball because he was betting he was having people bet on his pitches, individual pitches. Can you ever truly crack down on that stuff? I'm not sure. I think it's just making sure you handle out the proper punishment and making sure that you've got integrity throughout the league's front office. But Combs, I don't know about you, man. I'm not big into the prediction space because, there is some fishy stuff that can go on here, man. And it's not really just related to sports. Again, I see stuff like there, hundreds of $1,000s being traded on when the U.S. is going to invade Iran, and then it happens like a day later. Oh, somebody predicted that would happen and put $1 million on it. Oh, I wonder who that might be. I wonder who the insider information is coming from there. Again, prediction markets are largely unregulated, in my opinion. But Rob Manfred is claiming that this is the safest way to combat threats to the sport's integrity. And that, Rob Manfred and the CFTC chairman, Michael Seelig, they signed a memorandum of understanding that they're going to share information confidentially. They're going to meet regularly to discuss potential threats to integrity posed by specific markets. But your thoughts on Major League Baseball partnering with Polymarket here, a prediction space ahead of the 2026 season?
I'm confused and intrigued at the same time. Because how is this going to fight against, shenanigans in Major League Baseball? Like, how is this going to stop Emmanuel Clase from throwing pitches? Like, what about this is different than the sports betting? Like, that's what I don't understand from Rob Manfred's standpoint, where he thinks that this is going to make the game better and it's going to protect the integrity of the game. I don't understand that. And
I think he's claiming he's just to jump in. He's claiming that because prediction markets, it's got federal regulatory scheme makes our life a lot easier. That's what he said, as opposed to take, for example, sports betting where you're going state by state. Again, state regulations ain't going to stop Emmanuel Clase or anybody else from telling somebody put $50,000 on my first pitch of the inning being a ball. Versus what's the chances you can't do something like that on one of these prediction markets just because it's federal regulations?
That's what I don't get. Like, I don't understand where he's going with it. I mean, I knew eventually the stuff, it all comes together. I don't like the prediction markets either. I'm not a big fan. I think that they're too broad to actually regulate. So I know you say federal regulations, but what federal regulations? Are we just talking about taxes? Are we talking about what are we talking about with federal regulations? Because I don't understand that part of it. I don't know that leagues getting involved with this stuff was ever the right way to do this. I don't understand the leagues ever being that's why for so long you were never able to do it. Now, I do understand that now there's a paper trail. Now that gambling is, legalized, sports gambling, you have these prediction markets, all that stuff is legalized, and you have a paper trail, and that's why some of these guys are getting caught. I understand that part of it. But for the actual leagues to get involved, to me, it's almost like the NIL thing, right? Like, the NIL was created for name, image, and likeness. That's why NIL. But it wasn't created so that teams could bid over athletes. It wasn't meant for teams to pay for play. And it's the same thing with like sports gambling. Like, yes, the Vegas and all the sports books and stuff like that was meant for us to gamble on the sports that we like to watch. But then for the leagues to get involved with them, I don't think it was ever meant for them, because now it's just getting to be too crazy. And I don't know that this, I don't know, I just don't think that this is something that is going to stop players like Emmanuel Clase from doing what he did. I really don't. And I don't think that anybody could explain that to me in a spot where it actually makes sense. And if you can, I welcome it, because I'm always open to conversation.
Yeah, our video producer, Monty, makes some good points in our show chat. He says it's easier to set one thing across the whole nation than getting 50 states to agree to something. And the fact that prediction markets are, and something like Polymarket is federally regulated rather than state-to-state regulations. He said, so my guess is Major League Baseball can get the country to agree on not letting predictions/bets on balls and strikes like that. I mean, look, I'm all for that. Like, no offense, man. We shouldn't be offering that in the first place. Shouldn't be offering that in the first place. I mean, if you're sitting down to watch it, this is just like a morality or like an addiction standpoint kind of thing for me. If you're sitting down and you're watching a baseball game and you're thinking to yourself, ooh, let me bet on this next pitch being a ball. Come on. I think at that point you got a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can do it so responsibly, and still, I still think that that's a problem. Like, that should not be offered. And that the fact that that was being offered, that leads to players like Emmanuel Clase. That leads to these scandals, because you're offering things that shouldn't be, you're offering markets that shouldn't be offered.
Yeah. I'd be lying to you if I'd never said, oh, when I first saw that you could bet balls and strikes, that I was like the degenerate in me being like, oh, that's cool. Let me try this for a little bit. You know what I mean? And then after you hit a couple and then you lose a couple and you break even, you just kind of stop playing. It can be fun and it can be addictive. It can be all of that, but that's why you saw what you saw with Emmanuel Clase, because stuff like that it's just too tough to regulate. It goes all the way back to the Black Sox scandal, right? This stuff has always been around, and we always knew that it was around, but it shouldn't be so easy now for players to do it. And I just think that the prediction market, the only difference between the prediction market and the sports betting is that the prediction market is basically a different form. They don't call it betting; they call it trading. You get to trade. Yeah. It's still betting.
I think it's that you're betting against the market. You're not necessarily betting against a sports book like BetMGM. Like, you're betting against you're trading against other people. Like, you're trading against other people that think, like, for example, will Duke win by 20? There's like, that's dictated by other people saying yes or no, not necessarily by a number that is offered by a regulated sportsbook / casino. So I think that's also the other big difference. But it's intriguing to say the least, man. I mean, look, if they can do it and they can uphold the integrity and they can make sure that there are the necessary guardrails in place, then I guess it could be a good thing. But it definitely raised my eyebrows for sure when I first saw it.